right, guys, we're going to review economic profits in monopoly, but I want to remind you, you already know how to do this. We've already done this in perfect competition, so please remember that really in this unit, we're not adding a whole lot that is new. So let's take a monopoly graph. Let's draw a nice big monopoly graph. And so we have our downward sloping demand curve. That's maybe a little bit more vertical, but not vertical, but a little bit more vertical. And then our marginal revenue curve, which mine's a little bit off, but it's supposed to be double the slope, and it's supposed to cut that area in half from left to right. And then let's add in our marginal cost curve. This time, I'm going to add an average total cost curve up here. So this is different than the example that we did in class the other day. So make sure you have your graph drawn exactly like I do. And we want to find economic profits. And remember, pi is the economic symbol for profit. So when I use pi, profit. So starting with this graph, let's talk about the steps for finding economic profit. So the first step is that we need to be able to find quantity and price. Everyone remember the shortcut rule for finding quantity? What's the shortcut rule for finding quantity? Good, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Remember, that will maximize profits or it's going to minimize losses. So can we find the point where marginal revenue exactly equals marginal cost? Right there. Everyone agree? So the monopolist output is going to be right here. I'm going to put QM for monopolist. So monopolist output. Now, what do I want to do, guys, to find price? How do I find price? Yeah, price has to come from the demand curve. Remember, a demand curve maps together price and quantity, right? So straight up from QM to the demand curve and over. So here's my price. So we have found price and quantity, step number one. Step number two, after we have price and quantity, we need to find total revenue. And we know the equation for total revenue. What is it? Total revenue is P times Q. Great, P times Q. So total revenue is price times quantity. So does everyone agree we're looking for a box, which is going to represent total revenue, and that box is going to have a height of P and a length of Q. So here's my height of P, and here's my length of Q. So does everyone agree that total revenue is going to be this red box right here? But do you agree you can't find it? You can't find correctly if you don't have the right output and the right price. So you've got to make sure that you can find both P and Q correctly. All right. Step number three then is that we need to find economic cost. So we want to find total cost. Remember that we've assumed that opportunity cost is reflected in our cost curves. So when I find any cost information from the graph, if opportunity cost is reflected in our cost curves, then I've got economic cost, right? So that was a little bit of hand waving, so don't let that confuse you, all right? So to find economic cost, everyone agree? We've done this before, average total cost multiplied by Q. So these are just going to have to be equations that you are familiar with, that you understand. So if I want to find total cost, I look at cost per unit, multiply it by number of units. So I'm looking for a box where the height of that box is going to be average total cost, and the length of that box is going to be Q. So now we have to go to our graph, and we have to find average total cost. Can everyone find average total cost? So guys, is it this point right here at the minimum? Is that relevant in any way, that minimum point? Everybody wants to go to the minimum point. Maybe not in this example because it's pretty far away. But if I lowered my average total cost curve, everyone's focused on that. In fact, somebody sent me an email the other day, like, I'm not getting the right answer, I don't think, because she was going to that minimum average total cost. But that's not where we're going to operate. So we've got to stay at QM, and we need to go all the way up to our average total cost curve, right? And over. And find average total cost. Now, what do you notice here about average total cost relative to price? Yeah, average total cost is greater than what I'm making when I sell this unit. What does that intuitively tell you? This firm's what? Making a loss, right? They're making a loss. We can see that right here. But let's take it a step further. Let's find our total cost box. So we have a height of average total cost and a length of Q. And so I get back this purple box. So that tall purple box is going to be my total cost. So then all I need to do now is to find economic profits, we take total revenue minus total cost. That's all there is to it. So economic profit is total revenue minus total cost. And can we find the area that represents economic profits? Yeah, it's going to be the difference. Everyone agree? It's going to be this box that I'm striping in green. So economic profits. What do we know about economic profits here? In this case, economic profits are what? Positive or negative? Negative, right? Economic profits are actually negative in this example. So what that means is the firm makes a loss. So I might give you problems where you have negative economic profits. Now, if you're making negative economic profits, do you want to stay where you are? Negative economic profits means what? I could do better in my next best alternative, right? So remember, let's make a little note to ourselves. In the long run, you would want to exit. And why would you want to exit? Think about it. Because you can do better in your next best alternative. So the firm here makes a loss. Everyone agree? And we can see this loss in two different ways. We can see that they're making a loss in two different ways. The first way is that we saw that average total cost is greater than price. Everyone agree? If your average total cost is greater than your price that you're getting, you're making a loss. So that's one way that we could see it. What's the other way? What's the other way we can see the loss? What do I know about total revenue versus total cost? Which is bigger? Which is bigger, guys? Total revenue or total cost? Total cost, right? You see that total cost is greater than the total revenues, right? Both of those are ways that I can identify that this firm is making a loss. So you need to be able to look at a monopoly. We need to be able to find quantity and find price. We need to be able to find total revenue We need to be able to find economic costs. We need to be able to identify on the graph economic profits. And then we need to be able to determine if it's a loss or not, if it's positive economic profits or is it negative economic profits. And then we need to understand the implications. If firms have positive economic profits, what did we learn? In the long run, firms want to do what? New firms want to enter, right? If firms are making positive economic profits, firms want to enter. But if firms are making economic losses, then firms would want to exit, right? For their next best alternative. So you need to be able to pull those connections together. All right, any questions? Okay.